Hello everybody, and welcome to your next Allegro 5 tutorial. In this tutorial we're going to be learning about drawing primitives, which is basically drawing basic 2D shapes onto our game screen. This can be useful, like say you want to test the game and you want to use basic shapes, or they could be used for like very useful things, like say we want to use rectangles as menu selectors, or you want to use circles for enemies or whatever. I don't know what, or you want to use them as bullets or whatever. It's up to you. Your imagination is a limit, so whatever. Let's get into it. So at the top of the program, you have to include Allegro underscore primitives, and in the Allegro 5 folder. And we need that in order to use the modules and the variables, and the classes and stuff within the primitives header file. So right here, all the code above this is from last tutorial, so don't worry about it. And right here we have Allegro underscore init underscore primitives underscore add-on, and that's the module in order to make us be able to draw primitives to the screen. So let us go. We see Allegro underscore color, and we set this to electric blue, and I do AL underscore map underscore RGB. And you might be saying, what is this? Remember the last tutorial when we had to use AL map underscore map underscore RGB to select the color for the text on the screen? Instead of continuously writing AL underscore map underscore RGB, we can store this into what is called a color variable, and then instead of writing all this, we just have to write the variable name to replace it. So example of when I did that was right here. Instead of writing all this, I just put electric blue, and it will replace all that with this writing right here. And if you watch my Allegro 4 tutorials, it's just like replacing a make call when I used to make the defines. When I used to do like define, make call, and I used to define the colors right there. It's basically the same way, but it's different within Allegro 5. So let us get into the actual drawing stuff. So the first thing we have is AL underscore draw underscore triangle. And if we look at the syntax, we see we go for an x1 coordinate, a y1, x2, y2, x3, y3, a color, and a thickness. So now let's look at the certain points. Well, if we go into paint.net, this is my screen right here. It's not done well. I just rushed it like a few seconds ago. And this is the top left of the screen. So on the top left of the screen, the coordinates at the top of the screen is 0, 0. So when you go towards the right of the screen, you're increasing the x coordinate, and when you go farther down the screen, you're increasing the y coordinate. So look at this like a Cartesian plane. If you look at it this way, it's like a two-dimensional x and y. And if you don't know what a Cartesian plane is, then you can search on Google. If you want to refresh your memory, you can always look up at khanacademy.com, and he can help you out with your math or physics or whatever you want to learn. But anyways, so that's how the coordinate system works. So if we scroll up and we look at our triangle right here, the first coordinate is 10, 10. So if I go 10 spaces across, so yeah, if I go 10 spaces right and 10 spaces down, it would be approximately right here. So I'll put a point right here. Allegro will put a point there, and then when we look again, look at our second point. It's at the coordinates 20, 10. So let's go 20 spaces right and 10 spaces down. Put a point right there. And our last coordinate is 15, 50. So then it would go 15 spaces across, 50 spaces down. Put a point there. Then when Allegro has created all the points, then it would join them all together. So it'll go like this, join the line there, join it right here, and then join them together to make the triangle. So and that's how you make triangles within Allegro. And that's how you make all shapes within Allegro as well. Say I was making a rectangle, you would think that you would specify 4 points like that, but then they don't allow you to make 4 points because say you made 1 point here, 1 point here, 1 point here, and 1 point there. It would be like an irregular shape. It wouldn't actually be a rectangle. For a rectangle to be a rectangle, um two sides have to be the same and parallel to each other, and the other two sides have to be the same and parallel to each other. So when we're drawing a rectangle, we'd have a 1 point right here, our x1 and y1. Then we'd have like another point right here, our x2 and y2. And what Allegro will do is that it will go like this. It will draw a line from here to here. Then it will and then it will go like this. It will connect them like so. I know I'm bad at this, sorry. But it will connect them like so, and then it will create an actual rectangle. Right? So now let's so I've already showed you how to do a rectangle, and a rounded rectangle is the exact same, but I will show you a bit more of the syntax after. So if we look at the rectangle, we specify the x1 and a y1 and an x2 and a y2, and then join them together like I showed you. We specify the color for it, and the thickness is just the thickness of the line. So the thicker the line, the higher the number, the thicker the line is. So if you notice in Paint.net, I set the thickness of the line to 10. So if I set this to 1, then the line won't be as thick anymore, and the higher the value, the thicker it is. So it's up to you, whichever one you want to do. So now let's look at circles. Circles are easier in that what Allegro will do is that you specify a coordinate, an x and a y coordinate for the circle. So say the coordinate was 100 and 500. So it would go 100 spaces to the right and go 500 spaces down, and it would put a point there. Sorry, we'll put a point right there. Now, what it would do is that when you specify radius, if you don't know what a radius is, it's from the center point to the outer point of the circle, and the radius is the same around the whole circle. So once you specify radius, say the radius is 5, then it will set a radius of 5, 5 apart from the circle, and then it will draw, oh, this isn't good, but it will draw a circle around the center point where you specified. And you specified the thickness and the color, etc., etc. So if we look at the syntax of a circle, we set the x coordinate and the y coordinate. We set the radius of it, which is 10. We set the color, and then we set the thickness of the circle. Now let's get into rounded rectangles. The rounded rectangle is exactly the same as a rectangle. You do an x1, y1 coordinate, x1 coordinate, x2 coordinate, and then I believe, oh yeah, this is the round x and the round y, and this is the color, and this is the thickness, and basically it just specifies how much it curves, right? So the higher the number, the more it curves, right? Nothing too fancy there. An ellipse, what an ellipse is that it's basically like more of an advanced circle, I would say, in that you could more draw ovals with it. So then with an ellipse you can specify the same as a circle. You draw an x and a y coordinate, the center point. Then you specify the x radius and the y radius. So you don't just modify one radius, you modify both radiuses, and you specify a color and the thickness of it. Drawing an arc draws basically an arc to the screen. You specify the x coordinate and the y coordinate. You specify let me look at the syntax here because I kind of forgot it for a second. So you set x and y, you set the radius of the arc, and you set the starting theta value and the delta theta value. So if you're not familiar with math, theta will mainly, you'll work with like sine, cosine, and tangent and stuff. Um, that's basically what you're going to be using to work with arcs. Most times, generally, you won't need to use it, but I'm just showing the feature here. So this is your start theta, your delta theta, and then you draw the color, and then you would draw the thickness of the line. Drawing a line is simple. You draw x1, a y1, x2, and y2. So if we look at it like this on paint, for a line, say my x1 and y1's right here, and my x2 and y2's right here, then it will take a line and it will join them together. So it will start drawing from here to here, and it will draw your line. And then drawing a pixel is the simplest thing to draw in my opinion. You specify x and y coordinates, and say it's right here, it just draws a pixel there. Sorry. It draws a pixel right there, and that is simple enough, and you just specify the color. Right? There's no thickness, no nothing, it draws a pixel. So depending how big pixels display on your monitor would determine how big the pixel actually is. And lastly, last but not least, we're gonna learn about splines. Splines basically, they draw like a curvy line that will go through every single point that you specify. So what you need to do is have an array of points. So you might have noticed this earlier. I created an array of points. So this will be x1, y1, x2, y2, x3, y3, x4, y4, and you have to have 8 points. That's what you need to have. So you need to have up to x4 and up to y4. And what it will do, it'll curve through those lines. So it'll basically look like this when we run the program. So you'll do this or whatever. Do this, and it'll basically like curve through the points that you specify. I don't know when you'll ever need that, but you might need that. Say you're showing like stats or whatever in your game, and you want to link it to like an average stats or whatever, or maybe you're doing like say you're doing like a hospital scene or whatever, and you want to do those wavy lines or whatever, then you can do that with a spline. So anyways, let me run this program because you guys love when I run the programs. So let me run this program to show you the result of what happens. So this is my spline right here, my rectangle, and it doesn't run long enough, so I should do for 20 seconds. Make sure you put Allegro underscore flip display or you will not see anything. So this is my arc, my line, my ellipse, my rectangle, my circle, my spline, my rounded rectangle, and my triangle in the corner right there. And the pixel's right there. I don't even know if you can see it. My pixel's right there where my mouse is. And just wait for this to close. And then one last thing I should show you guys. Now you guys are probably like, oh, this is so great, but what if I want it to be filled in? Well, Allegro has that functionality. So let me show you the syntax for that. Just give me a second while I uncomment all these. So instead, like when we usually draw the triangle, we put Allegro underscore drawing underscore triangle. The only thing we put is Allegro underscore draw underscore filled underscore triangle. And they have the exact same syntax except for one thing, and that is the line thickness. There's no need for the line thickness because it's all filled in. So we don't need that area. So everything else is the exact same in every single one of these that use the filled command except for the line thickness. So if we want to draw a filled in rounded rectangle, we do AL draw filled rounded rectangle. We do everything the same. The syntax is the same. Same for rectangles, same for circles, and same for ellipse. And these don't have filled because they don't need it. Right? So once we run this program, yeah, see, I tried to specify a thickness there and it didn't work because it's not needed. So look, it's a filled in color. All of them are filled in right here. So that's it for this tutorial. Hope you enjoyed this. I know it's kind of long, but hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, and bye.